Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 3. A slightly shaky start with England looking a bit out of sorts, Le Crunch not quite going to plan. But there's a long way to go and a Calcutta Cup up next. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2023. Hey guys, welcome back. The SixNations series continues, and I'm joined, of course, by Dan. Hi, mate.
Hello. Well, not exactly how we wanted to start, was it? I mean, what was it? France 24, Johnny May 17.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't fit our predictions, but
not directly.
But let's not get too downhearted. I think there's a lot to talk about where this game is concerned. It's not all doom and gloom, but let's kind of take this one step at a time, Dan.
Yes, yeah.
You said to me in the last episode, what is an acceptable result, and I emphatically told you a Grand Slam. That's off the table. But the bottom line is this doesn't really change anything. This isn't this result doesn't mean England, they've lost it. They're a shadow of their former selves. Forget 2023 and all the other stuff that's been popping up on Twitter by any stretch. I think you've got to take this as two halves. You've got to look at. I know they've said there was no kind of World Cup fatigue, but I think there must have been a little bit of rust at least, because that first half was just so different to the second half, despite the fact that it was Johnny May, with moments of individual genius that changed England's fortunes. But it galvanised the whole team. His opportunities were created by a team that suddenly kind of turned a corner. They just left it too late. Statistically, the game was pretty much dead even. In fact, I think at the end of the first half, England had 60% possession.
Yeah, it was. They did, and possession as well. So my personal take on the game, and what I think is they had a game plan, but they didn't play to that game plan. So I believe that their game plan was quick ball. Like if you look at the team they picked, the likes of like Ben Young's at scrum half, he's pretty good at it, and I'm not saying that he had a good game, but like with the team they picked, even Furbank at fullback, Daly on the wing, Curry at 8, Underhill and Laws. I think their game plan was to play to the highest tempo possible, quick ball, but they didn't commit to the rucks. Like there were times where players went and maybe one person or two people went to rucks, which was infuriating. Or even when they won the ruck, they took the time. So if England had won that convincingly because they've got quick ball, and then you've got the likes of a Farrell in midfield, because if you want to play the more physical game, I think you go Farrell at 10, Tuilagi at 12, Joseph at 13, ignoring Tuilagi being injured. So, but I think they wanted to play the quick game, but then they didn't back that up by, getting that quick ball and the intensity.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because I know how you enjoy statistics. England. England won 109 rucks to France's 72.
Yeah, but that's because it's all very. They still win the rucks, but it's about winning.
It takes too long to recycle the ball.
Yeah, if you've only got sort of two players there, you're not blowing away the French defence. To me, there were times where the England players were a bit isolated, so you had a couple, and you really had to fight to win the rucks, and they won it because they're sort of powerful guys, but they didn't get that quick ball, which I think would have blown the French pack off the field. If we'd won that game by like 15, 20 points, it would have been a genius strategic move because, new French pack, blown off the field. But because even when we got it, Ben Young's had a poor game.
Very.
And the slow ball, and it was so static at so many points that there were quite a few times where I just didn't see how we were going to break their line. And when you're missing Billy, you don't have Mako in the team. Tuilagi goes off after 16 minutes. You're looking at that team thinking, We don't have anybody.
Yeah,
where are
the big ball carriers? Where are the people that are going to break the line? I mean, we've talked about Sinclair being a ball carrier. We've talked about Jamie George to a degree being a ball carrier. You've got your likes of Marrow, but he's not that particularly impactful as a ball carrier by comparison to some of the others. I thought George Cruz coming on made a difference. I thought Genge coming on made a difference. The baby Rhino, he immediately made an impact. Definitely the kind of the power game wasn't there, and as you say, it would appear intentionally. But yeah, it all felt a bit kind of mismanaged. There are obviously some key injuries. I think in some cases, I thought Furbank. It's always difficult with the debut, isn't it? There were two fullbacks on debut. One of them did brilliantly well. Had a great first touch, and it just kind of went from there. The other one was Furbank.
I don't want us to. I don't suddenly think he's a bad player, and I'm not going to say he shouldn't play for England again, because I think he's. I don't think he had the chance. I think he was picked because with go forward, like watching Northampton and seeing some of his clips. If you're going forward, he runs beautiful lines. He's sort of like quite a silky runner. I think in that sort of game, he's the wrong player, and I feel a bit sorry for him. I don't think he should be involved in the next game, because he wasn't up to standard.
Bottom line, both Watson and Noel, when fit, get into the England side ahead of him anyway.
Yes.
Assuming that Anthony Watson is back for Scotland, which I believe is what's expected, I think that's a straight swap. For me, anyway. What I hope is that we don't stick Daly back at fullback and stick Watson on the wing.
So I hope we do.
Why?
Because I do like Daly at fullback. If Watson's back, Watson plays 100%.
Elliot Daly is. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Elliot Daly is the type of player who can have moments, world-class moments, but he cannot do a world-class 80 minutes, even when he has a great game. And one of the biggest problems is the way that the kicking game's developed. Elliot Daly, when you see Elliot Daly running for a kick, whether it's a kick chase or whether it's receiving a kick under pressure, for me anyway, the assumption is he's probably not going to win the ball. When it's Watson, The assumption is he's probably going to win the ball.
So
I'm not talking about receiving a kick and catching it and countering from deep. I'm talking about kicks under pressure. Every kick he chased, he was the man, clearly pre-planned, but he was the man chasing the ball because of his pace. And every time he would get there, leap in the air, throw an arm in the air, his head would be pointing in a different direction, and he's looking to get a touch on the ball. And maybe that touch goes to an England player, maybe that touch goes to a French player, but it's completely uncontrolled. Whereas Anthony Watson, you always feel like he's getting up there and actually looking to take the ball. Even Johnny May, he's getting up there looking to actually gather the ball.
Okay, so
for me, it's too much of a risk, because even if he manages to get a touch on that ball, and even if he manages to flick it backwards, it could just as easily land in a French hand.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put Elliot Day that back. I must admit, I would prefer. I would back Watson more at fullback as a safer pair of hands, but I wouldn't.
But is that not enough? If you're saying that, is that not enough just to say, do you know what? In that case, because the back three are very similar in all other respects. So I'm not saying you lose Elliot Daly from the setup, but I'm saying you keep him on the wing. So you retain his pace, you retain the boot that apparently is one of the main reasons he's there, but we never seem to see being used, and you stick Watson at the back, where the fullback skills are just a little bit more natural, come a little bit more naturally to him.
I like Watson on the wing. I think Watson causes damage on the wing, and Elliot Daly running at fullback. So this will sound weird, and this will make no sense, but that's kind of what I'm about.
Say roll, mate.
I think Anthony Watson is a better attacking runner on the wing than Elliot Daly. I think Elliot Daly is a better attacking runner at fullback than Anthony Watson is. That probably makes sense.
I hear what you're saying. So I guess the question then becomes, what's more valuable in a fullback, defence or attack? And I would argue when you got the likes of Johnny May on one wing, that actually you want your fullback to be more solid in defence and have the ability to attack, obviously. But actually, I guess that your argument there would be, in that case, you want your two best people on the wing because they're the attack players, so that would be Watson and May. But I just think you're leaving there's too much being left on the table. If you can't, you have to be able to say that you think your fullback is going to win the ball more than he's going to lose the ball.
I would say that of Elliot Daly, though.
What, you think on a 50-50 where the attacking player is jumping for the ball as well, Elliot Daly comes away with the ball more often than he loses it?
I have no idea.
As I say, I'm not talking about simply gathering a kick. He can catch the ball, the same as the next man. But I'm talking about when it's under pressure and they're the attacking team are chasing their kick and they're in a position to regather. Anthony Watson, to me, wins that ball more than he loses it. Elliot Daly loses it more than he wins it. That's all I'm saying.
I would say, and statistically I could be massively wrong, that Elliot Daly wins it more than he loses it, but he doesn't win it as much as Anthony Watson would in that position.
We can take that, but that to me is too important.
Yeah, possibly. No, I do get that. Do you know who I'd have at fullback right now with injury? Like last game, who I would have played at fullback with Anthony Watson out would have been Jason Woodward.
Yeah. Yeah,
Gloucester.
He kind of seems to find his way into squads, but never gets any further, doesn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't been in this squad, but I think Jason Woodward's a brilliant player.
The problem we have now is that because we've lost to France, and it's not the end of the world, it's a shame, massive shame, because obviously Grand Slam's off the table, but because we've lost to France, we cannot lose to Scotland. I mean, we can't lose to Scotland at any time anyway, but it's even more important, and so suddenly there's hugely more pressure when it comes to selecting slight unknowns. So, do you know what I mean? Like, it's vitally important now that we get someone like a Watson back, so that we've got a solid back three that all know what they're doing, that are proven. Fairbank might get selected again if Watson's unavailable, and he might have an absolute stormer, but it feels like too much of a risk, in Edinburgh against Scotland with the history with the way it is at the moment.
So
in terms of Six Nations against Scotland, and we need a performance.
So if we pick Fairbank, where's Fairbank going to play?
It's very good.
Do you like that one?
Yeah. But are we going to pick Sinclair?
No, touche. I don't think Fairbank should play.
No, I agree. I agree with you. I think let's not write him off as a future England player, but
no, not at all.
There was a little experiment. It didn't quite work. Perhaps that was just unlucky on his part. But there's an important job to do now, and I just think experience is going to out. So yeah, I'm hoping Anthony Watson's fit, and then I'm hoping that Anthony Watson gets selected at fullback instead of Elliot Daly. But that will be an interesting one to see.
But even if Watson isn't fit, I still want. So if Watson goes fullback, I'm very happy. I'm happy with Watson on the pitch, full stop. If he's not fit or if he's picked on wing, I want Daly at fullback.
Maybe we need to put Johnny May at fullback, right? Because of how often he'll just have space to just carve up opposition.
Put Johnny May a prop.
Because apparently Johnny May, if he's given 3 inches of space, he's in.
My God, how good was he? Like those two finishes were two of the best finishes I've seen in a long, long time. It was Johnny May was absolutely incredible. So,
but he was, but it didn't happen until the second half. So before we get into the second half,
yes,
17-0 at half time. That's the first half time nil since 1988.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which England went on to win.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, how much was the French performance the Sean Edwards effect, or is it more which was what I think, that it's just a young French side, and as I said, a young inexperienced team can be a very dangerous team because they've got nothing to lose and everything to prove, and if you're off, if you're off as England were, it can be extremely problematic. I mean, Johnny May, despite his brilliance in that first half, one of those French tries came solely because of the kind of a fundamental schoolboy mistake where Johnny May decided that the whistle should have gone, and he didn't just not make the tackle, he actually pulled out of the tackle because he assumed the whistle was going to go.
Yeah,
and, that's criminal.
That is criminal. If
he makes that tackle, they don't score that try, and
if he makes that tackle,
suddenly the end result is a draw or potentially better. You know, I mean, obviously there's no way to know what that would have resulted in at the end of the game, but you know, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I think in Johnny May's defence here. One thing I'd say, when I actually think it was a fair try on replay. When I saw it, to me there was no doubt it was a knock on, and I forgot the ref's name, Nigel Owens, like great ref. He went for his whistle. I think Johnny May, and you see him literally go to put his whistle in his mouth. He's in Johnny May's eye line. I think Johnny May, wrongly so, but I think he.
But that's fine. I mean, so that explains it, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't excuse it, and that's the key, isn't it? Like at this level, you just can't afford to take those chances. And you know, maybe 99 times out of 100 he would do that, and the whistle would go, and play would be called back. But you just don't take that chance. I think it's probably a lesson he's learned, and he's not going to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
But,
he may not have made the tackle anyway because the guy was coming to pay. So I mean, we don't know, but either way, he was wrong to do it. But
Johnny would have made it.
Yeah, quite possibly. But in the same way, I excuse. As annoying as it was at the time, I excuse Owen Farrell dropping the ball. We know he's a quality player. We know that was like a couple of silly mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't come long. He took a pretty big knock, and we couldn't. At first, I thought it was pretty serious. The way he was holding his arm, I was like, oh no, he hasn't broken his arm or something, has he? And then obviously he shook it off, so guessing dead arm. But I wonder whether that just, you know, caused problems with his hands.
I think he was just so desperate to try and change things around. It was a bit wet and a bit miserable out there. The ball was a bit sippy. I think he probably was thinking too far ahead.
Do you think one of the problems was, given the conditions and the team that England selected, they had no choice but to try and play a game that didn't really suit the conditions?
I think so. I agree with that. I think the game they played didn't suit the conditions. You'd still back them to play it. But there were, like you say, there were silly mistakes that went against it. And some of the decision-making I thought was terrible. The start of that second half, when we're on their line, and fair enough, you expect to score a try or penalty or whatever, but there were times where we had 4 men overlap out wide. Yeah. Take that, just take the points. Even if you think we're going to score in front of the post, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just absolutely take those points.
I mean, was that just desperation? You know, it had been such a bad first half, you know, and I say bad kind of loosely because the problem, and this is where the stats being so even make it difficult to see, but the problem was that England did, the difference between the sides in that first half was that, because there wasn't a huge number of mistakes, but England made them a few mistakes at crucial times. So they would go 5, 6, 7 phases, create an opportunity, make a mistake. France would make their mistakes when it didn't really matter, and more importantly, when England made their mistakes, France capitalised on them, and it didn't happen the other way around. You know, and so, despite the statistics showing very similar kind of very similar sort of very similar error counts and whatnot, France ended up with points on the board, and you know, a considerable number of them at 17-0, where England obviously didn't. So there's, you know, it highlights obviously the importance of capitalising on opposition mistakes, which England have done under Eddie Jones for 4 years, been very good at. But also just I don't know, just being able to limit the mistakes at key moments. And it's one of the reasons why I think, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, that at half time it looked like it was, you know, an absolute disaster. But it did come down to a handful of very specific moments where actually a lot of the play in between, because it didn't get the result that you wanted, it kind of felt like England had, you know, just simply weren't playing well. But they were building well, and then they were messing it up. So I'm just hoping it was just one of those days. They didn't quite get the bounce of the ball. The rub of the green wasn't there for them.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to give France credit, as you were saying, is it the Sean Edwards effect? But we spoke about it before the game, and it might be a bit early, but actually, I think you're starting to see elements of Sean Edwards, like in defence. France, I think, are going to become a very, very good team.
100%.
I don't think they're there yet, but I think Sean Edwards as their defence coach is the best hire in world rugby in the last.
England must be kicking themselves that they didn't make an offer, because he basically was holding out for an offer from England, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the thing. I think he was.
He has said that the reason he went to France is because they offered him a 4.5-year contract and he's got a family to feed. So he went for the money. England, there's no question England had the money if they wanted to offer it to him, and France offered and he didn't accept it immediately. So I think he was waiting for an offer from England and it didn't come, which I think is going to be. They may rue that decision.
They may rue that. I think Eddie Jones does the same thing. And in fairness to John Mitchell, like our defence coach, some of the defence we'd seen had been brilliant. He had actually made a good defence, but our defence on Sunday was poor.
Yeah,
we missed quite a few tackles.
I think as well, it's the impact of the tackles, isn't it? We were getting knocked back in tackles. They were breaking the gain line. So although the tackles were being made, they weren't the impactful kind of. It wasn't that impactful turn defence into offence style that we've seen from England, over the past couple of seasons. I think, like you say, credit to France. I thought they were great. They are definitely. I think it's good for rugby. It's a shame it happened against England. Obviously I want England to win the Six Nations, which means France need to lose to somebody. I haven't decided yet who. Maybe we beat Scotland and then Scotland finds some way of beating France. I don't know. But otherwise
I think Scotland. Yeah, I think Scotland can beat France.
Otherwise I'd like France to beat Ireland and Wales. That would be nice. And I hope they do well, because I think it's good for rugby. But I think the thing with France, for years now, they've lacked composure. And they seem to have it in spades on the weekends. And when you combine that with the sort of the kind of the individual raw talent that exists in their squad, that's a real dangerous combination. And for years we've said that's why people talk about which French side will turn up, because on paper they have unbelievable players, but they always seem to play for themselves, not for the team. And on Sunday they looked so much more organised. And it became a dangerous proposition, and I thought that's one of the reasons why this game didn't. When the final whistle went, it wasn't quite as devastating as it could have been, because I think credit to England for the comeback that they put in, and yes, experience clearly outed in the end, and they were able to come back, and when they put France under pressure, France didn't really have a response. I mean, they defended well.
Well, no, France had a response with regards to, they held England out. It was 2 moments of brilliance where we got our tries.
It was, but 2 moments of brilliance and a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but that pressure, we didn't capitalise on it what we should. And don't get me wrong, I actually love the BBC, watching BBC's coverage, but on Sunday they really pissed me off. A few things that pissed me off. Firstly, if France score a try now, everything is French flair, absolutely. Whereas if England, Johnny May thinks it's like, oh, nice bit of work. Whereas France now, any try they score, that's French flair. That's the typical. It's like, just get over it. It's a try. And the other thing that pissed me off with the BBC, if anyone from BBC is watching, fair enough. I get why you had to show replays of the World Cup final, but enough's enough, all right? It's like making someone watch a video of their girlfriend cheating on them or something. I'm sick to death of seeing that and just having it thrown in my face. We lost the final, we get it.
Just show replays of the semi-final.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the all-time great England performances.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a different England team. That England team is still good enough to pull off that performance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is it, and this is why I think let's not get too down in the dumps. Yes, it's disappointing, but I think there's still a lot to come, and England can still make themselves a very worrying team in this Six Nations, and that might give France a bit of a boost. But it's the opening game of the Six Nations. Things can go a bit awry. It's the first time these guys are back together. The key now is step it up. Let's see that second half performance against France. Let's see that as a sort of bottom line benchmark going forwards. And if we can ensure that that's as bad as it gets, then we're in a good place.
I still think that second half performance was quite poor.
Do you think?
Yeah, I still wasn't that impressed. I think we need a massive change.
That doesn't sound rose-tinty enough for me, Dan.
Oh, mate, we're still the best team in the world. Don't worry, and we're still
best team ever in the history of the game. Yeah,
that's another thing. Like when people are saying, "Oh, Eddie Jones shouldn't have said that,"
why not?
Get over it. We didn't, because they're saying he lost and everyone's out to get us. So what? Like that didn't make us lose.
He didn't say we were the best team ever. He said that's what we want to be. I think that's right. You've got to say that.
And the only reason
he said we were going to win the World Cup 4 years ago, and we got as close as it's possible to get without winning it. So, I think at the time everyone told him to shut up as well, because we'd just been knocked out of our own World Cup in the group stages, and he came in and went, "Yeah, I'm going to win the next World Cup with this team." And everyone was like, "Yeah, arrogant Aussie," and we all hate the English, and let's do a bit of English bashing and throwing a bit of Aussie bashing at the same time. Well, he got pretty bloody close.
Yeah, he did, and not everyone said they wouldn't, because we believed it. And
we've always.
Do you know what? We always believe, and we will win the next World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be an England-France final.
Talking to the BBC, Dan, how much were you enjoying a bit of Dylan Hartley on there?
I like Dylan.
I thought Dylan Hartley was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I like Dylan Hartley. I think he's a good pundit as well. I quite like this.
He just offered far more. Like the others all just said the same shit they always say.
Yeah,
whereas Dylan Hartley actually had insight that's current and relevant.
Completely. I think Dylan Hartley's a great pundit. Jerry Guscott, I admit, I don't enjoy as a pundit.
No.
Particularly anyway. Martin Johnson.
He's fine. He's just they're all just a bit old fashioned. They're all kind of reacting to this England team based on their past experiences, which is completely to be expected, because that's where their experience comes from. But neither Jerry Guscott or Martin Johnson are currently that involved in rugby.
No,
they're not up to date.
Well, Jerry Guscott is from a punditry perspective, but not from an inside
knowledge. That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Whereas Dylan Hartley comes in, and it wasn't that long ago that he was captaining this side. He knows Eddie Jones, he knows his mindset, he knows a lot of these players, and it was just fascinating to hear his thoughts on a lot of what was being discussed. Where some of the others were just sort of rolling out the sort of the bog standard spiel that they throw out every time England play.
Do you know who I'd love to see? I'd love to see Dylan Hartley, James Haskell, and still Martin Johnson. I know I just said he doesn't seem the best pundit, but I still absolutely love that man. So I just
I'm not saying you should get rid of the kind of the old guard.
Get rid of Guscott.
Guscott can go. Yeah. Time to move on.
But I love Dylan Hartley. Yeah, I thought Dylan Hartley was good, and I'd love to see more of him on it.
We have a big discussion we need to have on another positional issue.
Okay. So I think I was going to go there, but go on. Yeah.
Well, for me, and I know this is not new news, but Tom Curry is one of the best flankers in the world. Playing him at 8 is a waste of his talent.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. So like I said earlier, I think they played him there because they just wanted complete mobility, expecting really quick ball, really aggressive, quick ball defence, win the rucks, but it didn't materialise. To me, and I am copying what you messaged me, but I think this well, we need a Don Brandt or a Sam Simmons. We need somebody, be it via force or be it via speed or guile, who is going to get that go forward ball. We don't have that.
I mean, even dare I say it, Nathan Hughes. I mean, I don't think that Nathan Hughes. I think he's had his shot, but at least he offers. You want the way that the game's played today, and the way that this England team plays when Billy's at the back. He's an extra number in the back line, because you'll pick and go from the base of the scrum. Everyone's moved out one space. You've got an extra man in the line. Tom Curry, and he doesn't play in that position, so why would he be able to do these things, as well as someone who plays number 8 week in, week out? It is a bit of a specialist position, and for Eddie to say that number 8 isn't a specialist position anymore is just not true, because you're playing one of the world's best specialists when he's fit. So I just think it's a mistake to think that you can just slot someone like a Tom Curry in there and everything's going to go to plan. because Tom Curry isn't about his strength in this England side isn't his go forward. Yes, he can do it, and he does from time to time, but actually it's what he does kind of at the base of the rucks and the mauls, and making a nuisance of himself and his defence, and all those other elements that come together to create a performance. Like, he's great in a bit of space, but he's not the kind of guy that's going to pick the ball up, smash through 3 players, give us 10 yards of ground, so that we can then create quick ball and attack a team under pressure. That's not the way that he plays his rugby. So having him at 8 just doesn't work for me, and so I think any out and out 8 would be a better option. And obviously, Tom Curry goes back to his more natural position of 6 or 7. He's, as you said to me earlier, he's a 7 by trade, and yet he's playing 6 and being talked about in as one of the world's greats, effectively already playing out of position. But Curry Underhill, 6 and 7 or 7 and 6, is I think key for this England side, and so Eddie has to find, and if he can't do like for like, fair enough. But Sam Simmons isn't like for like. Zach Mercer isn't like for like. There's 2 people, if you don't want a Nathan Hughes, that are number 8s that he's looked at in the past. I just think there's a better option, and I would put Courtney Lawes back in the row. Unfortunately, Charlie Ewels gets dropped. Cruz remains on the bench, and your back row cover remains the same as well in what's wrong with me? Ludlam.
Yeah.
That's then a tasty looking back 5.
Yeah.
With replacements.
I'm with you on that. I think you need a different 8.
But Don Brandt.
Don Brandt to me is first choice. If not him, I think you've got Sam Skinner. You've even going back to an old. Actually, no, that's probably right. I was going to say Don Armand, but he has played 8.
I think
but
that
again,
ship has sailed. But you're bringing in someone who's not a specialist.
He's kind of a 6 or 8. For me, the 2 things that showed is you need an 8 who's a big carrier, be it via brute force or be it via footwork and speed. So you need that. And another thing, I don't think he had a bad game, but the second row in the back row does not work for me at international level.
No.
Courtney Lawes is a great player. I want him in the row. I want him and Ntojo there. And I want the back row. Like you say, I want Curry and Underhill. I want them at 6 and 7. I think that's brilliant. And so, which is why I was quite surprised that they haven't changed it up. So,
well, we don't know yet, do we? There's all this talk about how Eddie has said that he's not going to make any changes. But I watched the interview.
He hasn't changed the 35-man squad.
No, but can you?
Yeah, you can for the game.
So, but we haven't heard. I mean, there's been no announcements of any sort. So I guess we wait and see. But you're right. He probably isn't gonna...
Eddie has said he's sticking with the same 35-man squad.
Has he? Because I saw a lot of reports about how he said no changes, and then watched the interview with him where he said, where my take on what he was saying about no changes wasn't about not changing the team. It was about not changing the kind of the game plan.
Oh, okay.
Like I got like a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's said no changes," but what I read into the actual interview was that he was saying we don't change anything. We've still got Scotland next. We wanted to go there with a W next to our name. Unfortunately, we're going with an L, but we don't change anything. It's still Scotland. We still want to go there and win. So it was more, I kind of got the impression that it was more of a sort of, we're not suddenly going to throw the book out and start again. We have a plan and we're going to stick to it. Not necessarily. We're not going to make any changes on the field.
Oh, right. So,
I mean, he might not, but that was my take on it anyway. And the media likes to sort of take a word that you said and go, oh, yeah, but that could mean something else. So we're going to pretend it did.
That must be. So I saw, and I didn't actually read the article, but I saw an article saying Eddie Jones has retained the same 35-man squad. So in my mind, that was saying he's not going to bring in another 8 into the wider squad. Not saying match day, but the thing is, if that article was true, which it may not be because I didn't see the interview you had, even if he changes the team, we still don't have a go forward ball carrying 8.
No, we don't.
So
what are the options? There isn't even like an option. I mean, I guess Ludlam. Does he play 8?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I must admit, but he's not a ball carrying. I think he's going to stick with Curry at 8, which worries me.
I just think it's such a shame. You're taking a whole attacking weapon out of the England side by not having a ball carrying 8.
Yeah,
we'll obviously know on Thursday when the team comes out, and obviously we'll do a proper preview for that once we know what the team's going to look like. But Don Brandt for me, and for I think probably most rugby fans, I just don't understand. Did you see the try he set up for Danny Care against Saracens?
no.
So about 60 seconds into the game, and just a beautiful little cheeky line out, long, over the top throw. Don Brandt takes the ball, his pace equal to Danny Care's, and it was one of those where he popped inside to Danny Care. Danny Care pops it back outside to him. He then throws it behind out the back of the hand back to Danny Care and puts him in the corner. 1 minute in, Saracens 7-0 down.
Nice.
And it was awesome. That alone should get him a call up.
Yeah.
And that was his response to not being picked for England. So if he can do that when he's a bit annoyed at not being picked, what might he be able to do if he is selected?
I'd love to see Don Brandt in. So, I've just found the article. Yeah, Eddie Jones hasn't changed the 35-man squad. And they say in the article, so that means there's still no specialist 8.
It's disappointing.
That is disappointing. And I don't really know what you do with that, because you need a ball carrying. So, I mean, hopefully Mako will come back, because although I have no issue with sort of Mako, Joe Malachite, and I don't mind which one starts, Mako is a ball carrier, and we lack that massively.
Yeah, Manu's staying with the squad, so it sounds like his injury is not necessarily long-term, but I get the impression that Scotland's out.
Yeah, I would have thought Scotland's out.
And unfortunately, Jonathan Joseph, as good as he is and as highly as I rate him, he works when there's space. He's not a crushable man. And one of the biggest problems that I had with Saturday, obviously, you can't. Injuries are unexpected and they happen, and you have to replace them, and you've got to make changes as a result. But when they made that change, it was like they just kept using him as if he was Manu. So when you get Jonathan Joseph, ball and man, he's going to get knocked back. He needs space to do what he does best. And he never really got the ball in space. He always got ball and man. Man and ball.
I think that's the problem, because we weren't getting quick enough ball, and we were doing the same with Owen Farrell. We were using Farrell and Joseph as crash ball guys, and that's not who they are. So I think Ford, Farrell, and Tuilagi or Joseph as a centre axis works really well if you've got quick ball.
Yeah.
Because you've got two incredible playmakers, and one person at outside centre who's either got the sort of silky skills and feet of Joseph, or just the raw brutality of breaking through any half gap of Manu. But
it creates with a Manu in there, it creates opportunities out wide because defences have to cover him. And if you've got a Joseph in there, it creates opportunities because of what he's able to do if he's got the ball in space, knowing that he has what he's got outside him as well. It never really came together for me in the midfield channel, and I think it's a massive shame. And obviously they had a game plan, but you've got to be able to adapt. And if you're going to lose Manu and the replacement isn't like for like, which is fair enough, then there needs to be, well, what does the plan change to when that? They must have planned for a change at some point in the game, so they would have had a game plan for when Joseph came on. They just didn't seem to execute whatever that game plan was, and I can't believe that what they were doing was the plan. Frustrating. Finally, Dan, the scrum half question. Do you say Ben Young's had a bad day at the office? Give him, just keep it the same. Give him another chance. I mean, obviously limited options because the squad's been selected, but it was so much. I just felt like this is a guy we talked about. I think Wade asked us the question, and we kind of defended the decision to have him and Hines as the scrum halves on the basis that he can come to this later. These are experienced players; they know what they're doing. They've leadership and everything else. A great couple of scrum halves to have in there, but it didn't show. We lacked something off the base of the scrum, and I think particularly if you've not got that ball carrying 8, that experienced 8 who's going to pick and go off the back of the scrum to give you the extra man. It was all just a bit slow and a bit like, I don't know. What do you do? Do you say one more chance, Ben, or do you make a change now? I mean, the only option really is to switch them round, and I'm not sure you do that.
I think I might switch them around. I think Willie Hines, Ben Youngs to me didn't have a great game. What we've got to remember, against New Zealand, Ben Youngs was world class. So he can still be, but to me, he's not doing it consistently enough. I don't know who the scrum half answer is right now, but there is a lot of options. I don't know what Dan Robson's state is, because obviously he had that really, really bad injury, and hopefully he's well playing, but it's probably too early. But I mean, I don't know what the scrum half answer is. I would go Willie Hines. I just think Willie Hines adds. This England team to me is, when they're attacking on quick ball, is absolutely devastating. And I think Willie Hines adds more urgency than Ben Youngs does.
Yeah.
So I start with Willie Hines. But if Ben Youngs does start, I mean, it's so hard because if you're getting slow ball and shit ball, it's going to make a scrum half look shit anyway. But I want to start with Willie Hines. At 8, it doesn't look like we can change. I want Mako to come in so we've got a bit more ball carrying sort of ability. Other than that, because realistically, although managing the squad, I can't see him playing this weekend. So does that mean
Devoto?
I think they'll go. I think they'll go Ford, Farrell, Joseph.
Yeah,
and then I would have Fawley.
Hopefully, then the back three is May, Youngs, and Watson and Daly. I don't know.
If Watson's about, I don't know. If Watson's available for selection, that would be amazing. If he's not, I think I go Ollie Fawley on a wing, and I have Devoto on the bench.
Daly at fullback.
Yeah.
And then what? Keep the forwards otherwise the same. I mean, if you're starting Mako, obviously you're bringing Marler on.
Yeah, so I'm going Mako, Jamie,
swapping
George.
Sinclair and. So where does Genge fit in? Is he
Genge on the bench again and comes on?
We're getting into that dangerous murky territory if we don't know enough about props.
Yeah.
We always get in trouble for it.
No, Genge comes on for. Let's ignore that.
Do you know, it doesn't matter. You have Genge and Marler on the bench because Marler can play both sides. Problem solved.
Yeah, so Genge,
like he did in the World Cup.
Yeah, I want Genge to come on. Genge is hard as well.
He is. He just needs. I worry when I watch him play that he's that hothead that Sinclair got a reputation for being. And it can be problematic, especially if you get a reputation, because refs won't, they don't give you the benefit of the doubt. So we just need him to control that. We not get rid of it, because it's a key to his game, the baby rhino, but just not lose it. We don't want to be giving away silly penalties because he gets his knickers in a twist, Dan.
Yeah, I actually think it's overstated because he hasn't been caught out. There was at one point where it looked like a late tackle. Then when you saw...
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
When you saw it back...
His first touch in the game.
Yeah.
Where he nearly broke the guy's leg perfectly legally.
It was a fair tackle as well. It's not like he was trying to cheap shot him. And if he was trying to cheap shot him, he hit it pretty damn well, didn't he?
Spot on.
But it was... So that's the point, because you'd need to drop... Because Genji's loose... I could get this wrong. I'm pretty sure Genji's loose head, same as Marler and Mako.
But Marler plays both sides, which he did in the World Cup. So do you remember in the World Cup they took one less prop because Marler can cover both.
Yeah, so you maybe
you stick with Marler and Genge on, and then if that is the case, if it's not the case, then that's fine. You've got like for like replacements. If it is the case, Marler can just cover the other side.
Yeah, I'd like to start with Mako. I'd like to see Laws back in the row with Marrow. Eight is so hard because what options do you have then if you don't have Curry at fullback? So I'd like to see Curry and Underhill on the flanks. I guess you've got Ludlam, but he's probably even less experienced at fullback. At 8. What am I on about? Yeah, he's probably less experienced at 8 than Curry.
It's a worry. It's a worry. I think we're going to end up seeing Curry late again if he's not going to make any changes, and that does worry me. And it's less about being worried that England can't perform with Curry playing at 8. It's more about England and not getting the best out of one of the best players in the world by not having him at 6 or 7.
Yeah, when Billy's injured, we need a better option. And I think we've got those options in Don Brandt, in Sam Simmons, in Zach Mercer.
Yeah.
So I'd like us to see us use them. And like we're saying about, like, I think we've got options that we're not using, but I still completely trust Eddie's judgment. Yeah, like with Furbank, and he didn't have a great debut. So be it. Eddie, well, one thing that Eddie, I think, is the best at in the world is spotting this young talent, spotting who's international quality. And I think Furbank will be. I think it was such a hard game for him to be able to showcase. But right now, I don't have him in the starting 23, but I want him saving the squad. I want him to get another chance because I think the guy's got a lot of potential, and I think he could end up being a great fullback. But the best fullback for the game we played would have been Mike Brown because of solid, but that wasn't our game plan. But as the match turned out, the best fullback at that time probably would have been Mike Brown. But
let's not go down that road. I think that ship has sailed, and you've got to be thinking about 2023. You've got to be thinking about young blood. Watson would fall into that category. Daly, I think, falls into that category.
Yeah.
So I think they're the two that we're keeping an eye on at the moment. But for me, Watson should be the fullback, and you're not making wholesale changes to what your plan was. Watson was Eddie's fullback until he got injured. Daly then became his fullback. So for him to switch back to Watson as his go-to fullback and move Daly to the wing wouldn't be some, total like reverse of his sort of thought process. Daly went there because there was no other option. Now Watson's back. There are two guys that he's looked at to move into the fullback position. I think he just, let's make a decision and you've got two guys that can cover if necessary then. But it'll be interesting to see what he goes with.
Back three don't worry me because we've got so much depth, so much talent there. But a few injuries, you've got Daly, Watson, you've still got Jack Noel to come back, you've still got the likes of Cognisinger and all that lot who can come in. So I'm not worried about that. I must admit I'm a little concerned. The two positions I'm most concerned about are 8 and scrum half.
Yes, I agree.
But we'll see. But we're coming back on Thursday, aren't we?
We are coming back on Thursday because, of course, once the squad has been announced, once the team has been announced, we can hopefully put some of these question marks to bed, and we can discuss what that means. I hope there will be changes because I think it's important to make changes, but it doesn't have to be wholesale. See what we think of the plan. We'll get into expectations and predictions and all that then. Speaking of which, Dan, our predictions very much come from the heart, with obviously a healthy dose of one-eyed, rose-tinted frosting. But listeners, do not let it be said that we're not a highbrow rugby pod of the people. I've been chatting with Graham at Rugby Forecast, which is rugby, the number 4 and then cast. Rugby Forecast on Twitter, and he's got a slightly different, considerably more balanced view on what might happen, and it's all based on statistics. Apparently, these statistics can impact what may or may not happen. So we're going to be sharing, Dan, you don't know this yet, but I'm telling you now, we're going to be sharing these with our listeners every week in the preview games in order to sort of compare how our heart over head kind of predictions stack up against the ones that actually have real numbers and facts to support them. Nice. Also, I'm hoping to try and get Graham on the pod at some point over the next few weeks, maybe in the kind of one of the 2 down weeks, to sort of talk about how they do their statistics and how all that comes about. And also, they're pretty accurate. I think they've generally they get a pretty good response, but it's very interesting. We'll come on to I'm not going to go into it now, but we'll go into it in the next episode. And they're quite detailed, and they kind of look at based on certain results, firstly they predict what they think the results will be, and then they basically say if their results are accurate, how does that affect each team's chances of finishing in different positions in the table. It's fascinating. So it'll be interesting to get the views of someone who isn't simply going, but it's England, so of course they're going to win. which has its place, as our listeners can not contest. What's the word? Doesn't matter. But yeah, we'll get him on. That'll be an interesting one. So that'll be Thursdays generally from about midday, if Dan and I can manage to organise our lives. Dan, I'm feeling more professional already.
Mate, I'm liking the sound of this, and I'd love to have a chat with him. Yeah, let's get him on.
Sounds good, guys. We will catch you on Thursday. Hopefully, not long after midday. See you then.